So now we're going to do the next bit. The next bit is the bit that can get a little confusing. Let me push that down. Okay. If you like a piece of batting in your visor, this is where you will do it. So you will grab the right side of your fabric, place it down. This piece here has been cut to the same shape using the pattern. It is 100% wool batting, white wool batting. And what you do is you get your print or your outer layer fabric choice, place it against the batting, matching all the raw edges, having the print side facing up. Get your liner section with the right side down towards the right side of the fabric for your outer layer. Again, matching all the raw edges. Okay. Pin that in place to hold it. Okay. And then we would use the serger to stitch all the way around the outside. However, I'm not a fan of batting, so I'm not going to use that today. So I'm going to put that aside for something else. I don't like the bulkiness when I'm wearing my caps. So what I'm going to do is now match these up, all the raw edges. Now that I've got some top to play with. And I'm just going to pin that so it doesn't shift on me when it's going through the serger. I'm going to use about four or five pins, nothing major. And again, I set my pins back enough where it doesn't hit the cutter on my serger or go underneath my pins, my needles, and actually break something. Ask me how I know that. So now what we're going to do is serger around this edge. Remove the pins. And this is what you get. So now we're going to turn it the right side out. Use your fingernails just to poke the seam so the fabric doesn't bunch. And now I will press. So what we're going to do now is 3 or 4 rows of single line stitching around the bill just to keep it nice and flat. Finger press that corner. Okay, here we go. Now, where you do your 3 rows is up to you. I do mine about 1/4 of an inch in, and then 1 sewing machine foot width over again, and a second one. And a little bit of a tip with this tail, I suppose you call it, from the serger machine. I hold onto it because it just helps keep the fabric from bunching up underneath my needle when there's nothing else for the feed dogs to hold on to. Now, for me, at this point, I put my label in. Now my label has the wash instructions on the back, so I pop it in the front here. It also gives them a little hook where they can, hang the hat up to dry, or if they're going to spray it with, there's an FRC spray that you can, when you're using standard cotton, if you want to make it an FRC cap, there's a burn spray that you can purchase, and I like to hang mine on the hook and then spray it so it'll dry. So for me, I think these are a multi-purpose, they're quite good. I mean, you can use a piece of ribbon or anything else that's decorative that you may like. Okay, so there we go. Alrighty, so we'll set that to the side. That bill visor is now prepped and ready to go for this next section. So what we're going to do now is do the band. I like to give this a press every time. That's another tip. When you're working with small pieces of fabric, accuracy matters, very much so. The smaller the piece, the more accurate you need to be. I'm trying to make room for the camera. Now, the reason why I do that is because that tells me that's halfway along my band, and I use that as a marker instead of pins. Now, something else I'm going to do, which I find that just makes my life a little easier when I go to make my cap, is that I fold down 1/4 inch and I press that in place now. So my Care Bears are facing upwards, so the top section is what I'm going to. So there we go, that's how I prep my band. So what we're going to do now is stitch it. So we'll turn the fabric inside out, or right sides together, and we're going to stitch that closed on the serger. Again, pin it if you feel necessary, and do the same to the outer fabric. Line up the raw edges just like so. Remove the excess thread. Okay, so what we're going to do now is place right sides together. So open up the outer layer, and with my liner open that up to expose the seam. We're going to put right sides together, matching raw edges at the top, not at the bottom, because I've got that flipped over by 1/4 inch, so it won't match. So we're going to match the top. Now, I personally will offset these seams ever so slightly, again to reduce bulk in that one seam. So what I'm going to do is just move it over a little bit, pin that in place. I'll put a second pin in about 3 or 4 inches down, matching raw edges, and the same on the other side. 3 or 4 inches down, matching my raw edges, and pin that in place. Now the other thing is I'm using thermal pins. I don't know what you call them, thermolated, but these are pins you can iron over if you need to. Now level everything out at the front here. Try to match. This is where when you pressed it, you got these 2 beautiful creases. We're going to match them up now. On the front side, like that. See? Just finesse it a little bit. There we go. Beautiful. Lay that down. Now, open this up. Fold it in half together. Crease it with your finger. Again, we're finding the center of the visor. That's all we're doing. When you open it up, you have a very slight indent. This is now a center mark on my visor, which I'm now going to match with my pressed center markings on my band. So slip the visor, right side fabric touching right side print or outer layer of your fabric, touching the print or outer layer on your cap, your band. Pop it in. There is my center mark. Match the center mark up here and the raw edges, and same again with the liner. Match up the center line and the raw edges. And a little trick here is I pull it out straight just to make sure that it's all, you know, nothing's not where it shouldn't be. And I know it's straight because both the sides of my visor are meeting each other perfectly. So I will pin that in place. Done. Okay, so now I'm just checking that all my pins are low enough. high. And again, I just do that so that I can whip this through the serge or without busting a needle or ruining my fabric. So start anywhere you want on the band, place it under the serger, and we're going to serge it all the way around to close that side. Stop if you need to and readjust the fabric to make sure it's lined up. It will shift on you if you don't use a lot of pins. Remove the pins. Six, there we go. Okay, what I can do now is open this up. That's great. Okay. What we're going to do is fold it back on itself, so wrong sides together, and we're going to wiggle the fabric so that this seam is laying flat and we don't have any of the fabric sort of folded. We don't have it, it's not folded over like that. We want the seam pushed out as far as we can get it to go so it's nice and flat on this layer. Pin that in place. Use as many pins as you need to. So now I would recommend that you bring your ironing mat back. And what we're going to do is just give it a press, just to keep it nice and crisp. So you can tell the difference. It's a big difference when you press it. One more just to finish it off. Oh, I think I just hit the camera with my head. Okay, one more just to finish that off. Lovely. Alright, so now what I'm going to do is do 2 rows of top stitching on this section of the band. Cut off the thread before I get to it. Now again, you've got 6 layers of fabric coming together here. So again, lift your foot, push it forward just a millimeter, let it down again, and it should go straight through. Back tack on the end to lock the stitches in. Cut off the threads. And there we go. We have done 2 rows of stitching all the way around.